Order, please. Order, please. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, and our mandate is that we are established for the purpose of reviewing the public accounts, the annual report or other reports of the Auditor General, and any other financial matters respecting to the public funds of the province. My name is Susan LeBlanc, and I am the chair of the committee and the MLA for Dartmouth North, and my pronouns are she, her. Before we begin, please make sure your phones are on silent, and if we need to leave in an emergency, we'll exit through the Granville Street doors and meet at the Grand Parade. I'm going to ask the committee members to introduce themselves, please, starting with the member on my left. Go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning. Marco McLeod, Pictou West.
Good morning. Brian Wong, Waverley Fall River, Beaverbank.
Good morning. Tom Taggart, MLA, Colchester North.
Good morning. Tim Outfit, MLA, Bedford Basin.
Ian Rankin, Timberley Prospect.
Good morning. Derek Mumbercut, City Member 2.
Hi, Lisa LaChance, Halifax, Little Sable Island, and my pronouns are they, them.
Diane Timmons, MLA for Victoria Lakes. Good morning.
Thank you very much. And we also have with us the officials from the Auditor General's Office, the Legislative Council Office, and the Legislative Committee's Office here with us today. And on today's agenda, we have officials with us from the Department of Growth and Development regarding the June 2022 report of the Auditor General, Oversight and Management of Government-Owned Public Housing. Feels like Groundhog Day because I think it was only 2 weeks ago and most of you were here in front of us. So I'll ask the witnesses to introduce themselves, beginning with the person on my left.
Hi there, so I'm Diane Saurette, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Department of Growth and Development.
Hi, I'm Pam Menchenton. I'm the Executive Director of Client Services for the Nova Scotia Provincial Housing Agency.
Vicki, Elliott, Associate Deputy Minister, Growth and Development, as well as Interim CEO of the agency.
Chris Morrissey, Deputy Minister for Growth and Development.
Thank you very much. And just a reminder, when you're called upon, make sure your mic is lit up in red. You don't have to do anything with your mics. Also, if committee members have heard enough of an answer, they can feel free to clearly get my attention, and I will call order and ask, and we'll move on to the next question. So before we begin, or before we get into questioning, I'll ask Deputy Morrissey, please, to make some opening remarks. Deputy Morrissey.
Great. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss Nova Scotia's Public Housing Agency and the progress we've made in addressing the Auditor General's 2022 recommendations. Since the creation of the Nova Scotia Provincial Housing Agency in December 2022, we've merged 5 housing authorities into one unified organization, established a new governance structure from the ground up, and modernized technology, policies, and procedures to ensure consistency and fairness across the province. From the outset, we've taken the Auditor General's recommendations seriously. They have given us a roadmap for continuous improvements. 8 of the 20 recommendations are complete. 5 are under review by the OAG, and the remaining 7 are on track for completion by 2026-27. Some of our key achievements include updating our lease package and tenant handbook, transitioning more than 12,000 households to a single standardized lease agreement, and moving all households to the same rent geared to income model. We've also introduced new policies to improve fairness and transparency, such as implementing a formal appeals process and strengthening the priority access policy. Since late 2023, more than 500 households have been housed through priority streams for homelessness and family violence. We've also introduced policies that reduce wait times for housing. As an example, we removed the rule requiring applicants to live in the municipality where they apply. And we are addressing overhousing by transferring tenants in inappropriately sized units, freeing up housing for nearly 200 families from the wait lists. Technology upgrades now let people apply for public housing and manage their applications online. The upgrades give us more accurate performance and tracking information, improve accountability, and ensuring we uphold standards of service. Government is also investing more than ever before, $251 million to complete 515 new RGI public housing units. 37 are already complete. Another 64 will be ready this year. And once fully built, these homes will provide safe, stable housing for up to 1,300 Nova Scotians. More than 20,000 Nova Scotians live in public housing. Tenants never pay more than 30% of their income on rent, and we provide stable housing in both rural and urban communities. Public housing is a critical part of the housing spectrum, and we are proud to serve Nova Scotians across the province. Madam Chair, ours is a story of steady progress and continuous improvement, always with the goal of providing better service to our clients. We are very proud of what we've been able to achieve, but we know there's more to do. Our priority remains to move more Nova Scotians into safe, deeply affordable homes faster. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you very much, Deputy Morrissey. And so we will begin our first round of questioning, and I'll begin with MLA Lachance.
Thank you, and thank you so much for being here. Certainly, we all share the knowledge and the conviction that action on housing is really important. We know people across Nova Scotia are struggling to afford their homes. We hear from folks every day, and we need to be making investments in housing that Nova Scotians can truly afford across the spectrum. So obviously public housing is that is well managed, that is well supported, is an important part of this addressing the housing crisis. Both the progress report update from the Nova Scotia Provincial Housing Agency in November 2023 and the Auditor General's follow-up in October 2024 found that only 40% of the recommendations from the 2022 audit had been completed. And you outlined, sort of where things were at. I think that, we still are seeing, a wait for the progress on the recommendations from the Auditor General. We haven't seen improvements in the majority of the areas. So I'm wondering why has progress been so slow, and when will Nova Scotians, you've talked about the 26, 27, but is that, how realistic is that? Why has there been such a wait for progress on the key areas?
Deputy Morrissey.
Great, thank you for the question. I'll start, and then I may defer to Pam, who may give a little bit more information with respect to the progress. There were quite a few recommendations coming from that particular report. We're proud of the accomplishments to date with the things that have been completed, but like building a house, this is building a foundation and having the right pieces in place at the right time. So we took a slow and steady progress with respect to consuming the information that was provided to us to ensure we put together a plan to get the things done in the correct order, and making sure that we are also consulting with our stakeholders and our various other people involved to ensure that we're doing things in an appropriate manner. And so working on 21 or 22 things at a time would not provide us that focus. We worked on the things that were a priority for us, and we continue to work on the things that are important for us. We've made very good progress year over year, and we will continue to build upon that progress with respect to the recommendations from the OAG. Anything to add, Pam?
Ms. Menchenton? Menchenton,
that's right. So I know that you have, that 40% has been complete. We've actually submitted an additional 25% to the Auditor General's office. So subject to their approval, we feel confident that we now are at 65%. And we feel that we are confident again that we are on track to meet all of our obligations by 26, 27. So some of the recommendations are codependent. So we had to finish, Part A before we could get to Part B, or Part B before we get to Part. So there's some technology upgrades that we needed to put into place. Those can take some time, as most folks would realize. So things like case tracking, and we have Rent Cafe, which means it's a portal for applicants to submit their applications online, and allows them to change those applications if they need to and update information, and helps out, they can track the status of that application as well. And quality assurance processes couldn't be done until we had some, or couldn't be completely done until we had some of the technology upgrades in place as well. So those things have taken some time. But again, I do want to point out that we feel that we've got 65%, again, subject to the AG's approval, but that's where we are right now.
MLA Lachance.
Thank you. And I mean, I think one of the concerns, of course, is that in the meantime, we've only seen the housing crisis deepen, and we've seen the wait list for public housing increase quite substantially. One of the AG's recommendations is that there be public reporting, regular reporting on waitlist numbers and waiting times, so that Nova Scotians can have a sense of the environment for public housing. We've submitted access to information requests, and things do seem to be getting substantially worse in terms of the wait list. So in 2022, when the original audit was done, the AG highlighted 5,950 applicants on the wait list, and that number has since increased to 8,200. So, question for the deputy: how do you think rising rents and other aspects of the housing crisis are contributing to the growing wait list in public housing?
Deputy Morrissey.
Thank you for the question. I think right across this country, around the world, we are going through a housing crisis. This is not unique to Nova Scotia or unique to one part of Nova Scotia. So the demand for housing and affordable housing has been increasing everywhere. No one level of government, no one person, no one organization is going to solve this problem. So working together with the many different stakeholders that we may have described 2 weeks ago around some of the affordable rent programs that we have in place, are very important to our success of trying to meet the needs of the clients that we're trying to serve. We have over 20,000 Nova Scotians in 12,000 units. We're doing multiple different things with respect to the reduction of the wait lists. We have reduced the vacancy rate, as an example, from 3 years ago from 5.2% down to 2.7%. The turnover time for units is another important factor of making sure we can turn over those units faster so we can get more people into those particular units. Making upgrades to the apartments and units that we have to make sure that they are constantly being upgraded and we're not waiting. Building 515 new homes as a part of our program is a part of that. I think there's some good news in the media yesterday with the increase in...
Order, please. Thank you. That's how clear I need you to be. MLA Lachance.
And I appreciate those updates as well. But just to go back to the question, how do you see, you have the benefit of being, having a bird's eye view of what's happening in the housing sector. So how do you see the impact of rising rents and other policies like the fixed term lease loophole and the misuse of the fixed term lease impacting the public housing wait list?
Deputy Morrissey.
I'm not here to, the fixed term lease doesn't really apply to the public housing sector with respect to what we're trying to accomplish. Our role is to provide as much public housing to the people, to our Nova Scotians as possible. The ways that we're trying to fix the problem of providing more access and affordable rents in this particular sector is by building more units, making the turnaround time of getting the units available for us faster, trying to put people in the right size units that are required, so trying to free up capacity wherever we can. And as fast as we can. And every day when I know the people within the agency, the over 500 people working for us and with us, the first thing they think about when they get up in the morning is how are they going to affect their clients? And so certainly that is something we are constantly thinking about every single day with respect to the agency and the good work that they're doing.
MLA Lachance.
I guess I don't think we can think about this in isolation. So, certainly, what I've seen since 2021, I get letters from seniors all the time who have been in rental units who just are not seeing their pensions or whatever other source of income they have raising at the same rate as their rent. And
Order, please. I'm sorry. If you need to speak, you can flag the chair and speak on your microphone. Thank you. But no, I'm sorry. It is the NDP's time right now. So unfortunately, I'm not going to let you speak. You can ask the question when it's your turn. Yes, that's right. MLA Lachance.
And so perhaps folks on the other side, I'm just trying to tell a bit of a story which outlines what I've been seeing, is that then seniors are really just facing down the fact that they can't afford their housing anymore, and they're ending up on the public housing wait list. And I receive letters all the time from constituents. I can provide those. there's folks who are former teachers on teachers' pensions who are just not able to keep up with the cost of housing, and they're like, so I guess I better go on the public housing wait list because I'm only so old and I'm going to be around for a long time. So, you know, I do think that there is a connection. So, I mean, I can let the question go, but I don't think that, you know, in particular, from your perspective, you have a lot of the housing instruments under your department. So, on one hand, we can't blame the housing crisis on the global context without being willing to make some of the links in our own context, I would say. And so why are we not why is the department not responding to the AG's recommendation that the wait list information be publicly reported?
Sorry, Deputy Morrissey.
Great. Thank you for the question. We do produce information with respect to wait times and wait lists. We are working on it every single day with respect to it. I think it's important to reflect that any one day is just one point in time. And if you look at different times of the year with respect to wait lists, you can see the fluctuations up and down. So I think we need to be careful of looking at just the one pinpoint of time that may be a peak for a variety of reasons that people are moving out or moving in, as an example.
Okay, order, please. I'm going to pause the time on your time, MLA Lachance, and I'm going to ask MLA Taggart if he has a point of order. And if he has a point of order, I will accept it. But if he's just going to talk to me off the microphone, I cannot hear that. Do you have a point of order? MLA Taggart.
The idea, we are discussing a report that's entitled the Report of the Auditor General, Oversight and Management of Government-Owned Housing. Government-owned housing, that department, does not have any, in my view anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, anything to do with short-term or long-term rentals or any kind of rentals. So why do we continue to be able to use that in our preamble to try and force that issue forward? And the chair doesn't seem to think that that's inappropriate.
Excuse me, MLA Taggart, last week we discussed what the chair should and shouldn't allow in a preamble, and I heard very clearly from this committee that I was to allow the members to take their privilege and say what they needed to say through parliamentary privilege in preamble. I heard that loud and clear from everyone, but I'm going to consult with Ledge Council as to whether or not this is a point of order. So this is not a point of order. You can speak and you can say whatever you need to say with your privilege in your preamble time. Now, we will begin the time for MLA Lachance again. Just 1 second. So we'll add a minute and a half to your time. So MLA Lachance.
And could you clarify how much time I have left?
So that means like 9:28.
Great.
So
okay.
10 minutes.
So I definitely take the point that, a number on January 1st might change by March 1st, but I guess that begs the question, why not provide public regular updates? We do it in other provincial services. That gives Nova Scotians a sense of how things are going in different sectors like healthcare. So I'm just wondering why we wouldn't do this in public housing.
Deputy Morrissey.
I'll defer to Pam, who has more details on this.
Ms. Menchenton.
So I invite you to take a look at our website. So we do have a number of statistics on our website, and including an idea of wait times per district. We don't publish individual wait times, obviously, on our website because they're very particular to individuals. And I want to mention something about wait times. So any tenant or applicant can call our offices and we'll give them, where they are in the wait list. Typically, we would say something like you're in the top 5 or the top 10 or something like that. We don't generally go you're number 12 or number 2 because there's a number of reasons why that number could change. And chiefly among them is we could have a priority access applicant who comes in and all of a sudden you're not number 1 anymore because someone got in ahead of you. So we try to manage expectations a little bit, but also give a lot of information on our website that would help people understand the general idea of, when they may be able to access our housing. So I hope that's, so we do have a website, and that's something that's new that's happened since the agency was formed.
MLA Lachance.
And I guess I think the question is, obviously protecting people's privacy and allowing for the priority programs, which are really important. But overall, in terms of the numbers on the wait list, it's a hard number. It's like not, I know you said we give an idea, but that is, it is a numbers-based piece of information. And so that we don't have to file another access to information request, can you tell us today how many Nova Scotians are on the public housing wait list?
Ms. Menchenton?
Yes, I can. It's around 8,400, and I'll get the exact number here. 8,431.
MLA Lachance?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. So that's an increase from the last time that we had an update. I think the question is, if this isn't shared with Nova Scotians, this is a part of the picture of housing in this province. It's a part of where government needs to respond. And I guess, I still don't understand why that couldn't be reported sort of on a quarterly basis in a public way for Nova Scotians to know. And I think that, I heard the comments from across the table in terms of the scope of this discussion. Surely, Deputy, you can see the path from continually rising rents to people's and other affordability challenges to people's housing precarity and sort of the pathway to, in fact, being on public housing wait list. The rent cap isn't working, so we've seen rents increase in Nova Scotia last year by 28%. And so how, I guess, for the Deputy, how have you been working across the department to consider the impact of one policy on another?
Deputy Morrissey.
Sure. The housing crisis that's upon everyone will not be solved by any one department. And so we are working with OSD, we're working with municipal affairs, we're working with municipalities, we're working with many different organizations to work on this particular problem. Specifically to the public housing and units that are available, all of those units are rent geared to income. So the 30% maximum charge for rent is ensuring the affordability for those people who are living in public housing. We are trying to increase and are increasing the capacity of new units built, as I described, with 515 units. Some are constructed, some are underway. We've announced some sites that are being looked at, and so increasing that capacity will also assist. We have other programs within the department to deal with the affordability, but the demand for housing, not just unique to Nova Scotia, everywhere, has gone up everywhere with population increases and things like that. That's a good sign with respect to economic development.
MLA Lachance.
And so I guess, I think since I've been elected in 2021, what I've seen in my constituency, what I've heard from people is that we could slow down the need for public housing. We could stabilize the rental market, and we could give people greater certainty by other policy levers. So that is things like the fixed term lease loophole, that is things like the 5% rent cap. And I do think they're relevant for this discussion because folks on pensions cannot, are living on fixed term leases, and their pensions aren't increasing by 28%, and their rents and average rents are. And so, I guess I'm wondering, can we now have a Minister of Housing? So when was the Minister of Housing the last time that he was briefed on the use of fixed term leases, and has the Minister of Housing met with the minister responsible for residential tenancies?
Deputy Morrissey.
We brief the minister every single week on items with respect to the Public Housing Agency and Department of Growth and Development. That particular policy, fixed term leases, is not within our purview within Growth and Development. That's over at Service Nova Scotia, so I can't say when those things have been reviewed, but we have not briefed our minister specifically with respect to that.
MLA Lachance.
and I guess the other question I asked was, has the housing minister met with the minister responsible for Residential Tenancies Act?
Deputy Morrissey.
I'm being told he's going to meet with him tomorrow, but there's constant communication between ministers on an ongoing basis about government business. So, but I understand there's a meeting tomorrow.
MLA LaChance with 3 minutes.
So in the 2022 report, there were 11,202 units of public housing. And I know that there have been the 515 announced, and but some are not in progress. They're commitments. They're not actual housing yet. So what is the number today of units of public housing in Nova Scotia?
Deputy Morrissey.
I'm going to defer to Pam in a second. And obviously, building a house takes time. The planning part of it takes an amount of time. So with respect to the budgets have been allocated for over $250 million, the first time in 30 years where public units have actually been announced and being funded. Progress has been made with several, which Pam will get into. But this is the first time in many decades that there has been a focus on public housing and moving forward. So Pam can give you the specific details.
MLA LaChance, do you want to hear from Ms. Menchenton? Yeah, Ms. Menchenton, please.
Thank you. So right now we have 12,018 units, and so the reason that the increase took place is because we brought a lot of legacy programs that we were actually property managing into RGI. So there was a grand effort to change all of those property managed units to RGI. So there's a 4-year what's the word I'm trying to come up with? There's a 4-year phased approach to bring everybody up to RGI. So that's why there's an increase. Can I also just mention something about the wait list? And there is a great effort to get people off this wait list as soon as we can. I mean, that's what we do as an agency. We traveled around the province last year and we talked to all of our staff and looked them in the eyes and said, your key role is to get people off that wait list as soon as possible. So when Deputy talks about unit turnaround, we've reduced the vacancy rate. We've reduced wait times for both people on the regular wait list as well as priority access by 64% actually. And we're also looking at the wait
Order,
list.
please. I'm sorry. There's very little time left. MLA LaChance.
I do apologize, and I appreciate the numbers. But I think, one of the things that, I see is that we could have avoided the growth in this wait list. We could have had policies that kept people in the housing they had, like the least expensive housing and the fastest housing is the housing that people have. And what I have seen, is that the combination since 2021 of the fixed term lease loophole and the 5% rent cap, which hasn't been a 5% rent cap, has been that it's just created a lot of insecurity and precarity. And so, I would love to see a world, I know folks are working to reduce the wait list, but, a world where we're not growing the wait list would really be much more ideal. And I think we could do that with policy changes.
Order, please. Time for you, MLA LaChance, has elapsed. We'll move on to MLA Mumbercat, please.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks everyone for being here today. My first question is anyone on the wait list, how often are they contacted to get an update?
Ms. Menchenton, please.
So they're contacted once a year to validate whether or not they still need public housing, if anything about their circumstances changed, if their household numbers have changed. And so we just want to make sure that we're allocating them the right units for the right size of their household. Among other things, we check income and so forth as well to see if they're continuing to be eligible for our housing.
MLA Mumbercat, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will get into some questions here around the data how does the agency, how often are you updating the data? Like we're hearing conversation now around the wait list. The wait list has increased over the years. We see it all over the province. We see it at home too as well. And I will say this, the staff at home is great. You know what I mean? The staff in Sydney are great. They support folks right across the island. They're easy to deal with. But the fact of the matter is that number is still increasing. So how often is the department or the agency looking at actually updating that information to show people how many are on the wait list?
Ms. Menchenton.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do quarterly reports. We update all of our data. We look to see where there's some trends happening and whether there's some gaps or opportunities that we can address. So, and this information gets shared with all employees, because it's not just the senior management who own these numbers and who own the effort to try to get people off of our wait list. So this is a 365-day-a-year operation, and every single day we're trying to get people off that wait list quickly. So yes, we do share all of our data with our folks, and it is on our website as well for the most part.
Emily Membercat.
Yeah, and that's really the question, is around the website. I personally think it was like the healthcare information that used to be reported that the government removed, right? I don't know why they did, but in this case, I think the more information that you can provide to the public on the website would be important. I do have a question, and this was a policy change that happened in the last few years. And it goes to the conversation around the wait list again, and it's a balance, because the policy change around ensuring that people who are homeless or struggling to put a roof over their head, they take priority over the wait list. How has that worked? Just because I know that people have been on that wait list for years too as well, who are in similar situations, not extreme situations, but similar in the sense that like they can't afford where they're living now. That's why they put themselves on the list. So like, has that impacted the wait list significantly or in any measure by doing that?
Ms. Menchenton.
Well, we have a priority access stream, as you pointed out, for those that have been homeless, and which I hope makes sense. I mean, those without a home should get a home first. We have 3 other categories as well. So to date, we have housed 672 priority access applicants since 2023. And 365 of those are from the homelessness stream. But I do want to talk about that a little bit. So we have a partnership now with a number of agencies, and so shelters and housing support workers, with the Opportunities and Social Development Department. So we now take referrals from those groups as the experts in who is homeless and who needs housing first. And we marry that up with our wait list, and so that's how we get recommendations and referrals, let's say, from that world, in order to take folks from homelessness into our housing. We're part of the spectrum, so we're not emergency housing. That's where shelters and transition homes and so forth come in. We're in the place to provide permanent, forever homes for them if they need it, from that stream. So it's I think it's been very effective. We've really had a great partnership, and it continues to be very, successful for those that are able to be housed. Has it affected the wait list? Well, it's added to the wait list, certainly. But how could we not house those individuals? So they're urgent, and that's one of the things that we do, is we make sure that those who are most in urgent need are getting housing first.
Emily Membercat.
Yeah, and I agree. It was a policy change in the last couple of years, and I was just curious to see how it was going, and we want to do whatever we can to make sure we put a roof over everybody's head. I know that in Sydney, in a lot of cases, that policy has put a roof over people's heads, so I appreciate that. So my next question is going to be around the report itself. So in December of 2023, the Nova Scotia Provincial Housing Agency submitted a progress report to the Auditor General's recommendations to the Human Resources Committee. The report claimed that 100% of the recommendations were on track for completion by 24-25, and the AG's 2025 follow-up reported that 10 or 12 of the 20 recommendations remain complete. Do you want to elaborate on, again, I know we've talked about this, but do you want to elaborate on where the department actually, and the agency actually is when it comes to that follow-up?
Ms. Menchenton.
Yeah, just for clarity, you said that was the 2022 report?
That was
MLA Member Cat.
2023.
2023. Yes, so we're currently having that validated by the Auditor General's office. So these were 4 recommendations that came into 2023 report around procurement and conflict of interest. So again, we're confident that the work has been done to satisfy those recommendations, but that's up to the Auditor General to validate that.
MLA Member Cat.
I'm jumping all over the place, just trying to get it all in. So I want to go back to the policy change when it came to supporting folks with who were experiencing homelessness. On the wait list, how many people were in that situation? When you're looking at that, they may not be officially on the wait list, but across the province, how many folks have you been able to house based on that policy?
Ms. Menchenton.
So since the policy came into effect, because it used to only exist in Metro, and then we expanded it to the other 3 districts. So we've housed 365 households since that policy came into effect. And I'll mention that we also have a stream for those experiencing gender-based violence or domestic violence, and we've housed 151 households since that policy came into effect. Overall, 672 folks have been housed from our priority access wait list.
MLA Member Cat.
Thank you. That's important information to have. Excuse me. So moving forward, the government has talked, heavily about the fact that all this new housing is coming. But again, we're all concerned in the fact that wait list has increased significantly. Arguably not by the fault of the agency. I think ultimately we have a government that's saying that they're going to build all this housing. Do you feel confident that we can make a huge dent in that wait list in the next 12 to 24 months?
Ms. Menchenton.
I feel confident that we can improve the time that it takes to get people off that wait list. So that's where we're really going. Like I said, we had a 5.2% vacancy rate back in 2021, and now that's been cut in half to 2.7%. And we've accelerated the time that it takes for people to access our housing. So we've reduced time waiting for anybody on the regular wait list. By 26%. And then for PA, it's been 64%. So again, we're just really making all of our efforts about trying to get people off that wait list and into our housing as quickly as we can.
MLA Member Cat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And do you feel that the rent supplement program in its current form will help with that wait list? Do you find a lot of families, is that an option for them to do that? Because that's something that we've talked to residents about in our office, and it's something that multiple governments have used over the years. So if I can get an update on that and how that's helping to support families, or do you feel that there needs to be any changes to that program?
Ms. Menchenton.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. So I'll just say one thing about the public housing waitlist with respect to the relationship with rent supplement, and then I may pass it over to Deputy or to Vicki. So right now, because of a policy change that took place in 2022, I want to say, folks that are on the public housing waitlist can also collect a rent supplement, because we don't want them to be in an unhoused situation while they're waiting to get into our housing, and we know that there's waits. So that's a benefit that's changed over the last couple of years, and I'll hand it over to one of my colleagues here.
Okay, Ms. Elliott.
Thank you. And there's really not much to add. As Pam said, that the policy change allows people to be on the wait list for public housing and receive a rent supplement, because before that, the rent supplement was actually created to get people off of the public housing wait list. But there are some people that prefer a rent supplement, and then they have the choice in where to live, and others prefer public housing. So now they have both options. They have both. They have a choice, which was integral for the rent supplement program. When you think about our broad spectrum as a whole, when you combine the 9,600 rent supplements along with the public housing, we have over 12,000 public housing units, and then you combine that with all of the other social housing units that we've supported through our community providers, and those are just the ones we know about. We have about 25,000 affordable units across the province, and all of those combined are what support those who need affordable housing, and they may be accessing one, but looking into another. So there is some overlap across them too.
Emily Mumbercat.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I wasn't aware that people could actually get the rents up while they're waiting. I think you might have just gave me that. How many folks now that are on the wait list are actually accessing a rent supplement?
Ms. Elliott.
1,200.
1,200. Okay.
Emily Mumbercat.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll go back into the report itself, and I want to go back to the data, and it's important because, as I said, we've seen the government remove a lot of data from various departments for whatever reason, data that they actually used to get elected, and deleted it after they did, and I want to go back to the fact that. We just feel that there needs to be a lot of transparency around this. Like, we get this question asked a lot about data. So I guess the one commitment we want to come out of today for us is the fact that, we want to see ideally monthly data. We want to see the wait list updated regularly so Nova Scotians can see it. It's transparency. It's Nova Scotians' money, right? So they're the taxpayers. And I think the more data that we can provide to the public, the better. So can the department commit today to update that data on a monthly basis so Nova Scotians can see the current status of the wait list, can see any of the progress that the government's making, who's in the rent supplement program or receiving. Like, this is important information. People are receiving rent supplements. That's great. I'm not asking for personal data. I think it was like the health. Every month it was updated. We knew in every region who was seeking a family doctor. We had percentages. You could track it. Nova Scotians would talk to us about it, and then the government deleted all that information, and now they won't release it to the public. So I would hope that we can do that in this department where we don't make that mistake, and we show Nova Scotians who are paying for these programs and wanting to support people that the information's there. So can the department make that commitment today that they'll update on a regular basis all of the information that I believe Nova Scotians and what they've said they want to see?
Deputy Morrissey.
We are giving information, and information is available through the website, enhancements to the website. We'll take that back for consideration to see what makes sense with respect to time and effort, with respect to updating information as required, and we're constantly looking at those trends from a senior management perspective. Pam?
Ms. Menchenton.
We do update the information quarterly on our website now. Maybe not as much as we could, so we can look at all that, as Deputy said.
Okay, MLA Mumbercat with 6 minutes.
6 minutes, okay, thanks, and I appreciate that. As I said, I was on the government side for 7 years and lived that information every day. Nova Scotians would call and they would ask, why this trend is happening or that trend is happening, and they would refer to that healthcare doctor wait list. When the government, they were in opposition, they used it every day to hold us to account, and they deleted it. So I hope they don't delete this information too as well. So I'll ask this question. In October of 2025, the NSPHA published their overhousing policy. My question is, what percentage of households living in public housing units were found to be living in oversized housing?
Ms. Menchenton.
So, yeah, thank you. So you mean at the beginning when we first introduced the policy, right from the start? So it would have been close to 2,000 households that would have been overhoused. So we have started down the road, of course, of enforcing this policy around overhousing. And for those that don't know, it's about right-sizing the number of bedrooms that a household would need. So an example is we'd have a senior, for example, or a senior couple whose children have grown up and moved away, and so now they no longer need all the bedrooms that they used to have. And so what we're trying to do is move them or transfer them within public housing. They pick 3 locations, and we work with them, obviously, to make sure that they remain in their community and their supports, like family and friends, if they'd like. And so far, we have been able to house 188 families as a result of the overhousing policy. It's not a lot. It is a lot. It means a lot to those families, I'll just say. But we have to make sure that a unit is opened up before we can move some. So there's, it does take a little while. And we do work with those families to ensure that we move them to a location that they've chosen, that they're comfortable with. We help them with their move. We pay for their move. We recognize that this is a lot to ask of individuals, and so we support them all along the way.
Emily Mumbercat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, the AG's report, 2022 report, found that the provincial housing portfolio had constant restructuring and turnover of senior staff. Do you want to elaborate on that? Is there, we always want people to be, happy and healthy in the workplace, and I also know that this is a high stress. These are high stress positions where you're trying to really help people find housing. I noticed the deputy wants to talk about it, so Madam Chair, I'll pass it over to the deputy.
Deputy Morrissey.
Great, thank you for the question. I think we've been very focused on trying to come up with the right structure with the evolving nature of the agency itself. So consolidating the 5 regional offices back to 1, having a corporate office with respect to looking at things such as data analytics. So there's different competencies, there's different structures, and so that takes time. We're trying to make sure we have the right people in the right seats to be effective in what they're trying to do. No one person is going to solve this housing issue or correct any changes that may be required. So it's a full team effort. There's been a lot of consistency with many of the same people driving the business with respect to the agency, and we'll always take a look at the talent. Do we have the right people doing the right jobs moving forward? Just in the last few months, we have dedicated a full-time COO. Diane is now on the job with respect to moving this file forward. She's very competent, has been in the system for a long, long time and understands the challenges. Pam has been around for a very long time with respect to public housing as well and being involved with the public service. We have the right people doing the right jobs, but we'll constantly evaluate to see do we have the right talent to make sure we're being effective in what we're trying to do.
Emily Mumbercat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next question I have is in the HSPHA website says as of March 31st, 2025, there's a 2.4% vacancy rate in public housing units. This would equate to about 288 vacant public housing units. Can you elaborate on why they would remain vacant? How long do they remain vacant before you can place someone in them? I'll start with that question. Thank you.
Ms. Menchenton with 1 minute.
Okay. So there's different reasons why a unit may remain vacant for longer than another unit. Some we can flip in under 30 days. Some take a little bit longer because of the condition of the unit once the person had moved out or the family's moved out. Sometimes we have some challenges getting trades to do certain work before we can move ahead with some other work that we have to do. So we're facing the same challenges with access to resources like contractors and so forth that other builders are facing right now. So that can sometimes add to some time. But we do try to flip them sooner and try to come up with some ways and strategies to hasten the unit getting back into service. That's always a goal. So for example, we do annual inspections of the unit that we weren't doing consistently before, but we go in a month before the individual moves out so that we can make a plan as to what needs to get done. So then we can be right on it as soon as the individual moves out and flip that unit more quickly. So there are some strategies in place to try to move those units back to service as soon as we can. Some of them do take longer.
2 seconds, so I'm gonna call order. Yeah, very well done. Okay, we'll move to Emily Elliott, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, folks, for being here again. And it's nice to see you and hear all the wonderful things you're doing and trying to do. So I want to talk about the wait list, which sounds like it's a more and more of a moving target than I would have thought because of people being able to be added to the priority list and some being able to get red supplements, etc. But what options do the wait listed applicants have to get off the wait list? So what are ways to get them off the list in addition to providing them, obviously, the goal of providing the housing?
Ms. Menchenton.
Thank you for the question. So we do work with our clients and our applicants to try to help them, if they can be flexible with respect to where they're able to live. We ask them to, pick as many locations as possible. Sometimes there's lines that are shorter than others because we don't have one big line. There's a line for every location that somebody wants to live in. So the more locations you choose, the greater the opportunity you may have to move off that wait list. We also have introduced some policies to help move people off the wait list as well sooner. Like, for example, we used to have a 3 refusal rule, and now we've reduced that to 2 refusals to try to hasten that, again, trying to get people off our wait list as soon as possible. We've removed municipal residency requirements, which in the past it meant that you had to live in the district where you were applying in order to get that home in that district, but now you can live anywhere in the province. So if you have family and friends, for example, in Cape Breton, and you're able to move there, that may open up an opportunity for you that doesn't exist in Metro, where the greatest demand is for housing.
MLA Elliott?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that answer. You mentioned in the opening comments that the objective is to not charge folks in public housing more than 30% of their income. What do we do with that revenue? How's that for a question? Where does that rent go, and how do you use it? Rent money, revenue.
Deputy Morrissey.
Thank you for the question. I'll start, and Diane will have more information specifically around some of the financial information. But obviously, that rent collected is going towards the operational costs and day-to-day of making sure we have all of our buildings stay up to date as best as we can with respect to operating dollars, and then other things that are required to run housing. Housing is not a cheap business. It's certainly that there's costs associated with it, maintenance associated with it, many different things, many different components. I'll turn to Diane just to give a little bit more context with respect to the numbers.
Ms. Saurette?
Yeah, hi there. Thank you for the question. So, yeah, the budget for the agency is just over $176 million. So we get revenue because we are a Crown corporation that is a consolidated entity. So we have a revenue, but then we also spend it. And so the revenue comes from 3 sources. So tenant revenue, as you had mentioned, is about 43% of the revenue. The rest comes from the province as well as the federal government. So we get about 47% from the province and just over 17% from the federal government. Most of the federal government money goes towards our infrastructure. So the budget, as the deputy had said, we operate. We have staff, we have bills, we pay the lights, we have maintenance and operations, snow removal, all the things that come with running a housing agency. There is a lot of investment that goes back into our units. As we mentioned, we have 12,000 units. This year, between operating and some TCA, so some capital budget, we have about 80 million. So, and that's not including major infrastructure, which would be our new builds. So there's a lot of investment that goes into maintenance and operations. Renos, these are the maintenance renos, so the unit turn, that's a little over $9 million. And then we have about $30 million in infrastructure and then our capital. So that's the bigger type of repairs that we have to do. You can replace a roof on a seniors building, it's $1 million, right? So a long way to get around to your question, but our tenant revenue and the revenue that received goes right back into the agency, and it goes into supporting our housing units.
MLA Elliott?
Thank you, Chair. And that's a pretty good answer for somebody who's been only there a little while. I said she wasn't sure how much knowledge she was going to have. You've done well. And thank you. You're a numbers person. That's right. My next question is, I think it was Ms. Menchenton that's mentioned the help for folks experiencing family or gender-based violence. Can you tell me how you go about that and what impact that might have on waiting lists?
Ms. Menchenton.
Thank you. So we do have that as one of our priority access streams. So we've made a concerted effort to work with our partners at OSD and shelters and transition homes and so forth to make sure that we have a dedicated priority access stream for anybody fleeing domestic violence. We also prioritize anybody within our units who may be experiencing domestic violence transfers out of a unit. Perhaps there's some issues with a partner, for example, and so we make sure that we prioritize those transfers to another unit within our portfolio. So we do work with, like I said, with housing support workers, with OSD, and we also get referrals from those groups. And so in the same way that we accept referrals from those groups for homelessness, we accept those referrals as the experts. We are not the experts in what constitutes domestic violence and so forth. We recognize it, of course, and we all know what it is, but we do rely on those experts to tell us, you know, this person really needs to be housed quickly, and we make sure that they're put on the priority access wait list and get them into housing as soon as we can.
Emily Outfit?
Thank you very much. I think Emily Timmons is next.
Okay, Emily Timmons.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. It's great questions and answers by both sides. Thank you. I know that the applicant portal launched in 2023, representing a major technical upgrade. Can you describe how this has been improved the efficiency for both applicants and staff compared to the old system? I do realize the old system didn't publicly provide any details when it came to the wait lists and so on, but has this improved your operations as a department?
Ms. Menchenton.
Thank you for the question. It absolutely has. So if you can imagine, everybody was filling out their applications manually and bringing them physically to an office to process. So having the opportunity to be able to fill those applications out online, so about 50% of our applicants now have moved to an online application option. We still would accommodate manual applications if that's the preference of the tenant or of the applicant. But we've reduced application turnaround time from 35 days to 17 days. And the portal also allows tenants to, applicants to update their applications online. They can check the status of their application. So there's a number of positive benefits to moving this online and being able to kind of track. We've attached a quality assurance, or we are attaching a quality assurance method to that as well. So it's been a great benefit to those that are interested in completing their online application.
Emily Timmons.
Sorry. So that provides the applicant a chance, if they become a priority access or need priority access, if their living situation changes, it does provide them an opportunity to do that as well online.
Ms. Menchenton.
Yes, it does.
Emily Timmons.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to my next question. I do realize that many of the recommendations have been completed and also in progress. What policy changes have the NSPHA made beyond the OAG's recommendations?
Ms. Menchenton.
I have a list. I'll just give you some samples of some things that we've done over and above. And it also, I may explain a little bit why, it's taken us a while to get some of these AG recommendations underway. And we're still committed to the date that we provided, which is 26-27, to have them all completed. But we've done other things while we've done the recommendations, not to mention that we've stood up an agency. We've created, I hope, a corporate culture of, getting people off that wait list quickly. We've introduced mission, vision, and values. We've brought senior teams together they'd never met before when they used to be the 5 separate independent authorities. So there's a number of things that we've been doing to try to hone the effort into making sure that we deliver the best client service possible. But just as some examples, some things that we've done, we've come up with, there's a new standard RGI rent model for all public housing tenants. There's a new standard lease agreement for all tenants and tenant rules. We have a new elections policy, disclosure of client personal information policy. We have information sharing agreements with the Department of Growth and Development as well as OSD. We have a new equity, diversion, inclusion, accessibility committee that didn't exist before. a number of other HR initiatives. We've had customer service training for every single person in the agency across like the last year. So this is supporting our client engagement strategy. We've introduced a new tenant handbook, so that's online as well, and that very clearly talks about the roles and responsibilities of tenants versus the landlord, and just helps people understand what the rules are while they're living in housing, and also what they can expect from us and what they should expect from us. Under asset management and operations, we have a new maintenance IQ software. So what that is our maintenance folks now have a iPad or they can use their phones as well to submit work orders and updates on those work orders in real time in the field. Otherwise, they're driving in their trucks back to the office and logging it in. And so this is now connecting them in an electronic way to, now we can track and look at trends and so forth with respect to the work orders that they're doing. So it allows them to do it on site. So that's been a big, heavy lift because we've had to provide training and so forth around that as well. So we've upgraded our client and asset management systems. We have a new occupational health and safety program. That's just, so we've partnered with Build Nova Scotia. Like there's a whole bunch of things that we've done over and above what the AG has wisely recommended that we take a look at. So there's been a lot of work going on. And we're 3 years old as of December 1st. So we feel like we've done a lot, but we know that there's still a whole lot to do as well.
MLA Timmons.
Good question up there. Will a lot of those changes help you complete the recommendations going forward that's necessary for the Auditor General's report as well? Okay, thank you.
Ms. Menchenton?
Yes, thank you. And I'll give you an example. So the client engagement strategy is still pending, and that's something that we will be hopefully have in place by 26-27 as committed. So there's been a number of foundational pieces that we've had to really kind of put in place in order to have that strategy really be a fulsome and working strategy at the end. So technology upgrades, for example, that allow us to, we have case tracking now, so that's something where every single time a staff person interacts with one of our tenants or an applicant, it gets recorded. And we have a quality assurance process around case tracking now as well. So we can check back to see if we're doing what we said we were going to do in the time that we said that we were going to do it. And then we have the case tracking helps us then, identify where there may be some anomalies, for example, and then we can remedy that anomaly based on like what's been written in the case tracking file. So there's been, a lot of this has been foundational work to achieving some of the recommendations that the AG have recommended. And like I said, a lot of this has been foundational to the client service strategy that we're hoping to have in place by the end of 2027.
MLA McLeod, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's fair to say you guys bounced around between a couple departments earlier on. And I was curious, did that cause any setbacks? And also, are you in a good place now to make some meaningful change?
Deputy Morrissey.
Thanks for the question, and I'll start, and if somebody else wants to contribute to that. I think we're in a much better place than we have been, and we are continually looking at quality assurance programs to look at how can we do things better. So that continuous improvement cycle, which includes feedback from the Auditor General on ways we can improve our systems, we welcome that feedback. And when we get that suggestions, as you can tell from Pam already, we're not just working on those suggestions. There are many other different things, and the early stages of setting up an organization takes a lot of work and takes a lot of people to get involved. And so again, not one department here. We are working with many different departments. For example, with Build Nova Scotia is a good example of how we're looking at how to better improve our processes around capital construction. They have an organization set up that does that work. And so working with Build Nova Scotia and that structure helps us and alleviates some of the other stresses around the agencies standing up, do what you need to do, make the clients more forward-facing and dealing with the clients. And certainly with Build Nova Scotia, with their competencies around building and capital construction, that alleviates some of the concerns that we didn't necessarily need within the agency itself. That's one example. The tools that Pam talked about, some of these new tools, productivity tools that we're implementing, it's about efficiency of services. So making sure the tasks that people are doing are having a positive impact on things like wait lists. So, and again, that's information we can provide back to other departments as needed. Working closely with OSD or municipal affairs, whoever the case may be, is also very important for us. So there's a lot of work that's done between departments, between the agencies' own departments, and trying to work together collaboratively to try to affect the conditions with respect to the affordability of housing across this province. Anybody else want to add to that?
Ms. Menchenton? Oh, you have 5 minutes.
I just wanted to tag on to what the deputy had said there. I think we have a pretty resilient agency. So I know that there's been some senior changes and so forth, but for the most part, the staff that are on the ground in the field have remained the same. We have a lot of people that have been with us for 20, 25, 30 years, and they know their stuff. They're passionate about what they do, and you only have to just go talk to anybody anywhere just to know how committed they are to our clients. So I would just say that, you know, while there's some changes at the top, the agency really has remained pretty steadfast in what it's there to do. And I would say that every single person in the agency is dedicated to that purpose. Again, looking after our clients, looking after our buildings, making sure that the infrastructure is safe and remains affordable and available to low-income Nova Scotians. And we also, again, I will say this 1,000 times, our goal is to get people off that wait list as soon as we can. And everything that we do is about that.
Emily McLeod.
Thank you, Chair. In the Auditor General's report, there were some questions asked, and one of them basically is asking the department, if there's an organizational approach to quality assurance addressing priority access placements. And you did answer Emily Momberket's question there, talking about a priority access stream. You also mentioned 2 other streams as well. I was wondering if you could talk about, is there what the system in place looks like for the priority access stream, and then also those other 2 streams that you kind of briefly mentioned there.
Ms. Menchenton, please.
Thank you for that. So we actually have 4 priority access streams: homelessness, people flee domestic violence, inadequate housing, and then those that need to be located near a hospital because they need to receive life-saving care. So we accommodate, those are 4 urgent categories for us, and like I said, we ensure that we house the most urgent applicants first. So we have a quality assurance system that's now in place for unit allocation. So that means we can't noodle with the wait list. The person that comes at the top of the line goes to the first unit. So and then the quality assurance piece is making sure that we are indeed making sure that the first person at the top of the list gets that unit. Now, there are some exceptions, and there always are with anything. So somebody may not be ready to move if we call them, or they've refused, for example, the unit. Somebody's circumstances may have changed. They need a larger unit than they did initially when they applied. So we'll accommodate those things, of course, but we'll note them and make sure that those anomalies are noted in the quality assurance. And we just need to make sure that those are legitimate reasons, and that somebody has signed off on that. And if there's a reason to go back and check to see why this happened, we will do that. So it's a bit of an audit of ourselves.
Emily McLeod with 1 minute.
Okay, I'll go back to the very start, recommendation 1.1 of the Auditor General. And it's talking about implementing structures and systems and taking action to determine and address maybe the root cause of specific issues. And it's always easy, like Band-Aid solutions, but when we talk about finding the root cause and being able to address that, have you guys been able to come up with a system that you can place to find those root causes?
Ms. Menchenton.
I think that's what all this accountability and, addressing some of the recommendations that the Auditor General provided to us, as well as some of the other things that we're doing. We're very data-driven. So again, we take a quarterly stock of where we are with things with respect to how quickly we're turning around units, how many people are on the wait list, where there's opportunities where we can address gaps and find out what's going wrong or what's going right, and capitalize on good practices that may be happening in one district and making sure that we're using that good practice and bringing it to another district. So we're always watching that, always. And so I think it's sort of a day-to-day occurrence where, again, we're very data-driven, looking at the numbers to see, where there's opportunities for us to improve, always. And there's always room for improvement.
Order, please. Thank you very much. We'll move back over to MLA Lachance with 12 minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. You shared earlier that there are currently 12,018 units of public housing. And I'm wondering, has any older public housing units been taken out of circulation? Have any units been closed down?
Ms. Menchenton?
There have, and I don't have the number, very few, but there have been some because it costs more to renovate than it would be to divest and then put the money into perhaps a new public housing unit. We have had some circumstances where folks have had a legacy agreement where it was a lease-to-own situation from the federal government, so those come before us as well, and those are considered. But I can't give you the number today, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I can get that for you.
MLA Lachance, please.
Yes, that would be great if you could provide that. As you know, we've had the chance to discuss the public housing units in my riding for seniors, and certainly this is, a large portion of the population who needs support with housing. So. Last year, 4,819 public housing units were designated for seniors. And has that number changed?
Sorry, Ms. Menchenton, not Emily Menchenton, yet.
So I don't know the exact number of the units that are for seniors at this moment in time. Perhaps one of my colleagues could give me a sticky note on that one. Oh.
Sorry.
8,316. So most of our housing is dedicated to seniors. Most of our housing is one-bedroom units. So that's 70% of all of our available units right now are for seniors across the province.
MLA Lachance.
That's a number from across. That's a number from across.
So previously, 47% of those on the housing wait list were seniors. What's the percentage now? And I'm also wondering, of the 550 new public housing units that have been announced, how many are dedicated for seniors?
Ms. Menchenton.
So we have, all the new housing is going to be mixed demographics. So we have 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms in all of our new housing. So I can't say precisely how many 1 bedrooms we would have for individual seniors, for example. But right now we have, in our new housing, is this correct, Diane?
On the wait list, that's how many seniors are on.
Oh, on our wait list, sorry. So this is across the province, 3,754 seniors are waiting for housing.
MLA Lachance.
And so, I guess just to clarify, despite the commitment to seniors and the overrepresentation of seniors on the wait list, are none of the new 515 units being dedicated to seniors?
Ms. Menchenton.
Yes, they would be. So it's, as far as dedicated to seniors, yeah, so we serve seniors and families mostly. So those single bedroom units would be senior units. And, there may be couples as well that move into those single bedroom units.
MLA Lachance.
And in your follow-up information, can you provide the number of single units of the 515? So one of the things, as you know, so there's McKean Tower and Joe Manor in my riding, and I spend, a fair amount of time visiting with folks and helping facilitate their concerns to the agency. And one of the things that the folks in McKean have been concerned about is it seems like folks are being moved in who aren't seniors. And so they're wondering if their building has been declared multi-generational or not a seniors building. If you could clarify that, if that is the case with McKean and if it's the case in other buildings in the province.
Ms. Menchenton.
There are a couple of buildings in the province that have been, that are now multi-generational, but this is in response to demand that we're seeing. So we are geared mostly to seniors and families. One of the reasons for the overhousing policy is to try to open up more units for families because we don't have as much stock for families. With respect to seniors, so our senior number is 58, as you know. So we have some folks that are under the age of 58 that also are requiring very low-income housing. And so we don't really have a lot of units for those folks. So this is an effort to try to, where we can, and being very thoughtful about it, if there's an opportunity to move a person who's under the age of 58 into a building where it may be the right fit, we look at all those things. Then we may be doing that. With respect to McKean Manor, that hasn't been declared necessarily a multi-generational building. So I'd love to know like what specific examples you may have, and I can look into that. Maybe there's one or two folks that have been moving in that are under the age of 58, but I can't say for sure. And that would be an on-the-ground operational decision, and again, based on client need, and there may be some priority access issues there.
MLA Lachance.
Looking at so the current wait list of 8,431. Sorry, I have a whole bunch of numbers written down in front of me, and now I'm getting lost in them. And compared to the 515 new units that have been announced, so that's 4% of the wait list will be, directly addressed by these new units. And of course, we know that building housing is a complicated and can be a lengthy procedure. So what are you doing to ensure that in fact the units are being built and on time?
Ms. Saurette, please.
Hi there. Thank you for the question. So we've, it's been announced that we have now a team at Build Nova Scotia. So we are working very closely with Build Nova Scotia. I think it's important it's really frustrating when we don't see shovels in the ground. But there is a lot of work happening. And when it comes to infrastructure, that foundational piece is important so that when we do start construction, then we can just roll with it. So with Build, in the agency, we have an infrastructure team, but then now we have this team that we've been able to create at Build Nova Scotia so they can focus on our major infrastructure and our new builds, and our team, infrastructure team within the agency, can really focus on the units and the unit turn. With Build, there's a lot of work happening, and it's all working kind of in alignment. So we're looking at sites. There's lots of sites across the province. We're focused mostly on provincially owned land, because then we don't have to have land transactions and all of that kind of stuff. It takes time. That takes time. We're looking at standardized design. So we have a design consultant on, and they're working on the design. We're engaged with municipalities. We're working with industry. We're also working with procurement on the tender document. So all of those things are, it takes time before you can get that shovel in the ground, and it's creating that foundational piece. We announced last week 4 sites. There's more. There will be some more announcements on that. We're expecting that tender documents are going to start to go out early spring, and construction starting spring, summer. So it's I think that we're on time. We're just not seeing the shovels in the ground, but there is a lot of work happening, and yeah.
Thank you. MLA Lachance.
And I guess I want to go back to so the current commitment, and I think maybe the deputy can clarify, is a $250 million investment. And
shall
yes,
we hear from Deputy Morrissey?
Yeah.
I think it's just a little over $250 million that's committed in the capital side, correct?
MLA Lachance with 2.5 minutes.
And so that's at this point targeting 4% of a wait list that seems to keep growing. And so I guess I'm wondering, within the department, have you done cost-benefit analysis around issues like policy changes that would just keep people in the homes they already have? So, how are you, the $250 million is a huge investment. that we, if we kept people in the homes they have, we kept people off the wait list, could be applied in other ways. So what kind of cost benefit analysis has been done, that $250 million, how it could be used to help people have safe and secure housing?
Deputy Morrissey.
I'll start, and again, I'll ask others to jump in here, but this is the first time in many decades where that another $250 million being spent to increase the capacity in public housing. That's a significant increase. We are working with our nonprofit sector as well about building up capacity as well for more affordable units and trying to be as creative as possible. Private sector is starting to fill in the gap here with more new builds being constructed in different areas across the province. There are policy changes that have been instituted through the agency itself with respect to making sure we have the right size units for the people that are in it. We are always looking, I think, through the continuous improvement cycle to ensure that we have the right policies for the current day. So I would just state that I guess that we're continuously looking at different policies to incorporate to reduce the wait times, which is our biggest priority at this point in time, knowing that there's limited capacity available right now and over the long run. But increasing capacity in housing in general will help alleviate some of the problem that we currently have right now.
MLA Lachance.
So the Housing Supply and Services Act that passed in 2022 included the creation of an advisory board. But currently the board is not listed on the, with other existing agencies, boards, and commissions. Has this advisory board been established?
Deputy Morrissey with 10 seconds.
There's been no appointments to the advisory board as of yet.
Order, please. I will move on to MLA Rankin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do want to talk about nonprofits because I think they're going to be an integral part in how we move the needle. But I wanted to ask a question because I think it was said is the main focus is to basically take people off the list as fast as you can. But is the bigger focus to just manage the growth of the wait list, or is there actually an effort to reduce the wait list? So as it was said, 515 units with 8,200 people on that list, which has grown since 2021. There was less than 6,000 people. So it seems like we're managing the growth, and we'll be able to take about 1,300 people off the list eventually when these units are actually open. But is the department focused on just using the finite resources that we have to build as much as we can and manage the system more effectively with the support of the recommendations? Or is there an effort to actually reduce the list? Do we think we'll ever be at a point where we'll be able to reduce the number and not just manage the growth of the number?
Deputy Morrissey.
Thank you, Chair. I think we're trying to do both. Obviously, the first priority is to reduce the wait time so people can get in homes faster. And so where we can do that, we are doing that through change of policy and increase of units. I think it's upon us as well with a growing population. We don't have the same population as we did 30 years ago. There's an increase in population, so more units will be required. That requires substantial resources. It also requires substantial planning time. In order for us to get buildings in the ground and being built, that takes some time. So I think over time, our aspirations are certainly to reduce the wait time so people can get in homes quicker, but without some additional capacity, whether it's in the public sector or the private sector, both will help us with respect to trying to increase more availability of housing for everyone. And so I think we take both as a significant priority areas for us and trying to do the things we can with the limited resources we have available to us from a department and from a government. If we can lever through nonprofits, I think there's been a great job done on the nonprofit side of trying to leverage some of the relationships we currently have with some of the funding that they do have and working with the nonprofits that we work with, Add Some House, Rooted, others, YWCA, you look at many of the different things we're trying to do. Anybody come to us with a solution, we'll talk to them, we'll kind of suss it out and figure out, is this the right solution for us? Does this have a net benefit of wait times or wait lists? And if it does, we're willing to have a conversation with them to see what we can do. But whatever is in the best interest of lives for Nova Scotians, I can tell you Pam and her team are dedicated 365 days a year trying to reduce the wait times and improve the wait list.
MLA Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think there is opportunities for nonprofits. So I just want to ask, like, since these reports came out, since 2020, how many nonprofit providers have come to the department to look at applying for some of these programs? And have you seen an increase since some of these recommendations have been advancing? And have they presented obstacles in the process of going through these programs in terms of like what you have in terms of the department to deal with how they deliver housing? Like, and have you improved or looked at your own capacity on how you deal with your staffing complement, how you organize program funding for them to fit the criteria that they have so that they can actually build? And I just see a massive opportunity, and Adsum House is one, but there's many that have the liquidity, they have good governance structure, and they can move fast so that we can supplement what the government's not able to do.
Deputy Morrissey.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Vicki may have more to add on this particular file. I think the number is in around the 11, 12, 10, 11 number with nonprofits that we're engaged with with the nonprofits. I think they have done a very good job in concert with government and in concert with the private sector. If you look at the YWCA and Mount Hope, what has been able to achieve there with a private sector partner and building capacity, there are little stories that people don't know about some of the work that Clayton is doing with respect to increasing capacity, and whether it's supplying some equipment or supplying some of the lessons learned from the private sector and how they do business and transferring them over to the YWCA as an example. But there are many of those different examples of working with nonprofits. Nonprofits, I come from the private nonprofit sector, I can speak about this. They're very innovative with respect to resources available. So again, we will look at any partner that's willing to come to the table with the resources they have, whether that's finance, people, funding, and we'll lever it to the nth degree to ensure that we can get more resources available to the housing sector in this particular piece. You want to add anything to that, Vicki?
Ms. Elliott?
So you asked about staffing capacity. Have we changed that? Have we added any new programs, or how have we responded to the nonprofit sector? Since I started in this position, 4 years ago, this month actually, we've engaged heavily with the not-for-profit sector, and we've listened and we've responded. So a great example of that, and I keep coming back to the Community Housing Acquisition Program, because oftentimes we were hearing, particularly coming out of COVID, about renovictions, and so private developers buying up naturally affordable housing and then renovating people and then turning them into higher priced market rents. And so with the Community Housing Acquisition Program, not-for-profits can now borrow money from the province because they find it difficult to get private investment and acquire naturally affordable housing, and those will stay that way in perpetuity. We also introduced the capital grant that helps them with their down payment. They've not only used the CHAP program or our loan program to purchase naturally existing affordable units, but they've used them as a way to leverage their equity, their own equity, so that then they can start to purchase their own units on their own. And so we've really started to create a domino effect within our community housing sector that's really great to see. And you look at 283 million in about 3,000 units within our community housing sector alone. In chatting with one of our partners just a couple of months ago, he said, prior to 2021, they weren't sure that they were going to survive, and now they're thriving. And so, I would say we've been incredibly responsive. We've created an entire unit within our staff complement that works directly with the community housing sector in order to support and grow it.
MLA Rankin.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And so who would I point to in terms of a contact for a group that is like much smaller than an Adsum House or a YMCA? Like, I'll just say them because they're working on a project, the St. Margaret's Bay Housing Coalition team. And so, they're a relatively new nonprofit that they are registered. They've gotten all the MPs and councillors together, and they actually have potential to have land, potential for developer partnership, and do they have to do the federal phase first in CMHC, or can they work with someone within the department to look at options for that capital funding would be a good option, but they may have land to leverage, and I think that's something that nonprofits and community organizations can bring to the table to help provide equity on a project.
Ms. Elliott?
So there are a couple of options there. So the Community Housing Transformation Center, which is another organization that's been created since 2021, they fund capacity building. They'll provide early planning grants. And in addition to that, we have our new not-for-profit housing association run by Trish McCourt. And her focus is on also building capacity, connecting early providers with very experienced providers to provide mentorship opportunities and so on. So I would recommend one of those two options for sure.
MLA Rankin with 4 minutes.
4 minutes, okay. No, I appreciate that, and I'll maybe get a contact from you. But I want to talk about just on that small amount of time we have, my colleague asked about units that have been closed down. Do you have the amount of units that are unrentable right now, and do you track like a target date to get them back onto the in the supply? And I think it was mentioned you check them annually. Are there any units that are overdue? Is there a percentage of units that have not been checked annually, or you're quite confident that they all are now?
Ms. Menchenton?
I'm confident that they're all being checked annually, but let me check and just let me see if there's any outstanding or that we're still trying to get to. This is a relatively new, not a new program, but being implemented consistently now that we're an agency and we're able to ensure that there's some fairness, consistency across the province. We have about 300 vacancies, I think, at the moment. But that's because we have about 100, or give or take, move-in, move-outs every single month. And so there's always going to be a vacant unit that we have to turn. And some take longer than others, as I mentioned, because of the condition of the unit after the tenant left, or because of not having access to an electrician, for example, who needs to come in and do some work there, or not having access right away. So there's a few reasons why that would be happening. We do have targets for...
MLA Rankin.
The time. I just want to ask, do you have a process better now that on preventative maintenance, do you do condition assessments? Like, there's just a reputation that a lot of public units are falling apart. And I just want to, do you actually have the data that looks at the condition assessments and looks at the repair backlog? And do you have that data all available?
Ms. Menchenton?
Yes, we do assess our units based on, so we have a whole assessment process that we go through for each of our units. Our portfolio is on average about 40 years old, so we do experience, some heavier lifts sometimes when it comes to having to renovate some of our units. But we do track that, and maybe I'll ask Diane to jump in on that one.
Yeah. Ms. Saurette?
Yeah, so the infrastructure team, they do facility condition indexes, and that's and we also are doing planning. So there's a lot more planning. Getting into the units ahead of time is also in the annual review of the units is also helpful in us for understanding. But when we're categorizing the unit turnaround, like we've got the 4 categories, and there's one quick, so that's under 30 days. We can get in and out. There's not a lot that needs to happen. Then we have another, I'm just going to read the categories here. We have a standard, which is more moderate repairs, a little bit. That's,
sorry, order. MLA Rankin, please.
Maybe do you have that total figure, the aggregate total of how much millions probably would go into that number of repair maintenance that's required right now?
I'm sorry, the time has elapsed, but perhaps we could ask Ms. Saurette to forward that to the clerk. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, moving on to MLA Taggart, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So today's meeting is about a follow-up to the June 2022 report of the Auditor General Oversight and Management of Government-Owned Housing Policy and or public housing. And so I was on this committee at that time. I'm not certain if others were or not, but it was like probably in my view, the second most alarming report that we've dealt with at this Public Accounts Committee. There was a strange things happening, and maybe some improper things. I don't know. That's all on the record. People can go to that and see. I think that, you know, in your comments today, it's been clear that, you know, there's been really an outstanding job done to really bring the sort of the credibility back or the professionalism back to the department. We've gone from, you know, a vacancy rate of, at that time, 5.2 to 2.7. You've spoke about, I don't have it noted, about the turnaround time, you know. Lots has been said, questions been asked and answered about that, you know. Comments about transparency, overhousing. I think there's been a lot of great work done. I guess my question is, are you aware of anybody currently in public housing that makes over $100,000 a year?
Ms. Menchenton.
Yes, we are. So these would be as a result of some legacy programs that we brought into public housing. Because earlier, a member said that we used to have 11,000 and change public housing, and now we're up over 12,000. That's as a result of bringing some of those legacy programs into our fold. And so there would be a very small number of individuals or households that would be over 100,000, very small. So it's under, right now we have over Hills around 3% in the entire portfolio. So a very small number of individuals, and most are under Hills in our portfolio. So there may be just a handful, and I mean one hand, of individuals that may be over $100,000 a year.
Emily Taggart.
What was you said under Hills? What was?
Ms. Menchenton.
My apologies. So that's the household income limit. So this is the guide that we use, and it's set by the CMHC, so a federal body, and it's across the country, where they determine what the income level should be to be considered eligible for public housing, low-income housing.
Emily Taggart.
100,000 is considered low income. Is that correct?
Ms. Menchenton.
No, they would be over Hills. So in effect, not eligible for the program, but because they're in a legacy group, we've brought them into our portfolio, and now we have a 4-year runway for them to go to full RGI. They may self-evict at the end.
Emily Taggart.
It's a legacy project.
Emily Taggart, is that a question?
Yeah, I said, what's a legacy
Oh,
project?
what's a legacy? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Go ahead, Ms. Menchenton.
So, for example, we were property managers for the affordable housing program, which didn't require you to be low income to move into it. So then, we have some folks that would have been part of that. We inherited that whole program, and we just did we just did a whole conversion. Everybody is now going to be paying RGI by the end of 4 years. So we're just giving some runway because it will affect seniors more than anything. So we have some seniors that, maybe just making slightly more than Hills. So we just didn't want to impact them without giving them a little bit of room to get used to having to pay 30% of their income.
MLA Taggart, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I recall, I don't remember the number, but I recall in your opening statement, I think, Deputy Morrissey, that you commented about a certain amount of leases have been transitioned to, forget the wording, but a common, maybe a template or a modern, how many of the 12,000 of these leases have been modernized, I'll call it?
Deputy Morrissey?
The goal is to get everybody in public housing onto rent geared to income. As Pam has mentioned, there are some people who have been given because of the inherited programs we do have, that will take some time, 3 to 4 years, for them to either find alternative housing or get to that particular level. So the goal is to get everybody on rent geared to income model. Pam, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Ms. Menchenton.
And we've also put everybody on the same lease. So there were different rules for different authorities across the province. So now everybody's subject to the same lease arrangement.
MLA Taggart.
Thank you. So I guess I misunderstood. So that's what you were talking about. So everybody's on a common lease today, not a portion. Thank you. I'll hand off to my colleague here.
MLA Wong.
Thank you, Chair. I know that my colleague across the aisle talked about data points and for different systems, specifically talked about the family doctor wait list. And I just want to suggest that the only thing missing from the data are the tens of thousands of people that have actually found a family doctor. But speaking about data, in 2021, when our new government came in, what was done to really determine what the inventory was across the province? Because we had different authorities that was managing their own portfolios. So just wondering what was done in order to find out, exactly what we had.
Ms. Menchenton?
So that took a little while to get together, believe it or not. And we're trying to straighten this out now, but we're counting one roof as one unit. So we're making those changes in our system now to ensure our unit is a unit. We do know that we have over 12,000 units, so I'm not saying that we don't understand that that's how our system is set up right now, but we're looking to, we're calling it property restructuring, and it's a whole effort that we're making to ensure that we're counting one unit. And it makes it easier for us to track work orders and to see what's been done in that particular unit, and to establish a bit of a history around like what's been done and how much money has gone into that unit, for example. So the efforts in 2022 when we became an agency is again to just determine where all of our properties are. We had some legacy properties out there that we needed to bring into the into the NSPHA fold from an RGI perspective. So a lot of work has been done to make sure that we have the right number and that we're counting all of those units that we have property management oversight on. We actually provide property management oversight for a number of OSD properties as well, in addition to public housing.
Emily Wong.
Thank you. Were there vacant units that were discovered back in 2021 that had been sitting empty for a period of time?
Ms. Menchenton.
There was. We had some units that were sitting empty for 2-3 years, so that was a bit of a revelation, and we got on top of that pretty quickly. I mean, obviously, if we have an asset that we can use to put a family or an individual in, we want to make sure that we bring those back online. So one of the things that we started to do was change the definition of a vacant unit. So at the time, 2021, before the agency was formed, units that were offline weren't counted in the count. So we brought them back into the count so that they weren't out of sight, out of mind. And we addressed them and made plans to renovate them. So that's no longer the case. We may have a unit that's offline for up to 120 days, but it's not for the same reason. So it could be because they need a grand accessibility upgrade, or we need to do some energy efficiency work, or the unit's just in poor condition and we need to strip it back to the studs and redo it. So that's the reasons now, but we did discover that there were units that were offline for several years. So
Emily Wong.
Thank you for that. Do you remember approximately how many were offline, and how long it took to get them ready and to get people into those units?
Ms. Menchenton?
I don't. A little bit before my time, but I can see if we can get that data.
Emily Wong.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. I guess the other thing is that I have one public housing for seniors in my constituency. There always seems to be something going on. I know early on, we used to get calls all the time saying, my stove doesn't work, or my water's dripping, and it just seemed there was a process that wasn't working all that well at the time. There's definitely been improvements since then. I visit there on a regular basis. We don't get as many phone calls from them anymore. Can you talk about the systems that have been put in place, the complaint process system, and notification system, communication system with the residents in our public housing facilities?
Ms. Menchenton, with 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So we have a case tracking system now that, so I think I'd mentioned earlier that every single time we have an interaction with a tenant, we record that interaction so that we can see what the history of that is. We have a 30-day time limit on resolving issues, so, and hopefully less than that, but the 30 days would be the last time the longest time that it would take to resolve an issue. I'm glad to hear that you're seeing that things are better, because we really have made a concerted effort of making sure that we're trying to get to client issues in a much more timely way. And we've also, made some changes with respect to, for example, we have a unit turnaround team right now in each one of our districts that we didn't have before, dedicated solely to turning around units and flipping them faster. And I know that's not exactly what you asked, but we've made some operational and policy changes to support, getting to client needs and client issues sooner. We also have a quality assurance process that's attached to that case tracking. So again, it's to make sure that what we said we were going to do, we are doing, and if not, then we have a means to identify what those issues are and to remedy those issues.
MLA Wong, MLA McLeod? McLeod.
Sure, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I had highlighted recommendation 1.19, which I believe hasn't been filled yet, but it's talking about collaboration with the regional housing authorities and reviewing tenant engagement initiative to clarify the purpose and frequency requirements of engagement sessions. What steps are being taken right now to fulfill that recommendation?
Ms. Menchenton, please.
Yeah, so there's a number of things that we're doing to lay some foundational groundwork towards producing an eventual client engagement strategy. It is the last recommendation that we're looking at getting done, but make no mistake, we're still meeting with tenants. We still gather them together in common areas, especially in our seniors buildings, and we talk to them about whatever issues may be happening, whether it's security issues or social issues or maintenance issues, so we do keep our tenants up to date. We just want to put something in place that has some rigor around that and a schedule to make sure that those tenants are getting those pieces of communication, in person in particular, on a regular basis. It will be different for people that are living in bungalows, for example, or in duplexes because we don't have those common spaces. So we have to make sure that we customize communication for each different situation. Again, seniors buildings are a little easier because there's usually typically like a common area that we can gather people together. But in the meantime, we are complaint driven as well. So anytime that we get a call that, for a maintenance request, we prioritize that based on safety, and we get at those maintenance requests in under 30 days if we can, or explain why we can't because we're waiting for a part or something like that. So we are tightening up and attaching KPIs to how we address those situations. But we very much are interested in improving communication with our tenants. We had an appeal.
Order, please. Sorry, I'm sorry. The time has elapsed for the question. So that is the time that we have for questions. I'm wondering if anyone has any closing remarks. Deputy Morrissey?
If I may, and I'll be very short. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to bring the team in and give you some insight into all of the work that's been done over the last number of years. As you can tell by Pam in particular, her and her team, they're focused on client services and dealing with their clients first and foremost. 70% of our clients are seniors, and it's important for us to ensure that we're keeping all of our clients happy, but certainly there's a significant part of our population that are being impacted. A lot of the work is being done behind the scenes and under the iceberg that people don't get to see. And I just want to acknowledge the 500 plus team within the agency itself across the province who are working tirelessly in order to make sure they're making improvements to the lives of these Nova Scotians. Our goal is to make housing more affordable, whether that's in public housing or just for all Nova Scotians in general. And so I think if you look back on where we were and where we're going, the trajectory is a very positive one. Can there be improvements? Absolutely. And we welcome feedback, whether it's from the Auditor General or whether it's from departments, whether it's from our stakeholders. This is a part of our continuous improvement cycle. And as you can tell by the comments today, the team take those comments very seriously and personally. And so wherever we can do, we're always constantly thinking about the impact to the clients and making sure we put them first. And with the limited resources available to us, we are certainly striving to make sure that we're making lives for Nova Scotians better. So thank you for the opportunity today.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. And I would also like to echo remarks from one of my colleagues on this side about the good work happening at the agency and the improvements happening. And it is a slow process. And of course, we all want it to see it be achieved now, but slowly but surely. So thank you very much for the work. And that concludes the witnesses part of the meeting. You may leave now. Thank you very much. I'm sure there will be media who would like to speak with you. And we're going to move on to committee business. So the first thing on committee business is correspondence. So we have a letter from Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care. It was the information that was requested from the November 5th meeting. Does anyone have any comments or discussion on that letter? Okay. Secondly, we have a letter from Nova Scotia Health, information requested from the September 10th meeting. Does anyone have any comments or questions or discussion on that letter? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the Subcommittee on Agenda and Procedures. November 19th record of decision. So you will find in your package the record of decision. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the record of decision as presented. MLA Lachance? So moved. So moved. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on this record of decision? Can I call the vote? All in favor of the record of decision, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great, that motion carries. And so we will ask the clerk to begin scheduling those meetings. We do have a motion that has been sent around. So I will ask MLA Lachance to please present the motion that they have.
Thank you. So to follow up on the recommendations in the AG report, as well as our discussion today, we have a motion, whereas Nova Scotians deserve to know the extent to which the housing crisis is increasing the demand for affordable rent-geared to income housing. Therefore, be it resolved that this committee write to the housing minister requesting that data on public housing waitlist trends, including the total number of households waiting and their average waiting time, be made publicly available on a quarterly basis, effective immediately.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So everyone was sent that motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? MLA McLeod?
Yeah, I have a bit of a discussion. So I believe the question was asked directly to the department on this, and we heard from them that some of these figures, they're available and published publicly every quarter. And they said that they will take the feedback today and look at additional ways that they can inform Nova Scotians of these figures. So we're really comfortable offering them the opportunity for them to go and do that without the need of a formal motion today. And we're going to continue supporting the department as they continue to make progress on this file and keep making these major investments in public housing.
Any other discussion? MLA Lachance?
I mean, I take that point. I heard that commitment to review this as well. But I also heard at other points sort of moving away from providing that information. And I think that given that this has been an ongoing issue since 2022, that certainly it would be appropriate to follow up to this meeting again, to the minister, reiterating our desire for that information to be publicly available. I don't think it would undermine anything that the department is doing. I think it would show our support for their work, in fact.
Emily McLeod?
Okay, so if this motion is being proceeded with, I'd ask for a recorded vote on it.
Okay, well, the motion will stand as a question. And so I think we should vote on it. Is there any other discussion on it? Okay, perhaps we can have a discussion. Well, we'll see how the vote turns out. So I will ask for the clerk to conduct a recorded vote on the motion.
MLA McLeod?
No.
MLA Wong?
No.
MLA Taggart?
No.
MLA Oathead?
No.
MLA Rankin?
Yes.
MLA Mumbercat?
Yes.
MLA Lachance?
Yes.
MLA Timmins?
No.
MLA LeBlanc?
Yes.
4 yeses and 5 noes.
Okay, so the motion's defeated. MLA Taggart.
Thanks, Chair. I have a motion as well, if I could.
Go ahead.
Whereas public housing is a critical asset for Nova Scotians, and whereas our government is committed to providing spaces for those who need them most, therefore be it resolved that the Public Accounts Committee write a letter to the Department of Growth and Development affirming the position that no persons earning more than $100,000 per year should be placed in a public housing unit.
Okay, thank you. Is there a written copy of that anywhere?
Send it to you.
Can you send it to the clerk and have the clerk send it to the
yeah.
committee? And I just have a question about that. You say the wording is affirming the, can you reread that, MLA Taggart, please?
Whereas public housing is a critical asset for Nova Scotians, and whereas our government is committed to providing spaces for those who need them most, therefore be it resolved that the Public Accounts Committee write a letter to the Department of Growth and Development affirming the position that no persons earning more than $100,000 per year should be placed in public housing.
Thank you, MLA Taggart. Any discussion? MLA LaChance?
I guess, I certainly heard MLA Taggart ask those questions during committee, and it seemed like the department provided a pretty detailed response to how they're managing those situations, and I'm not sure that there's really, I don't think we can, I think we can support the department and their ongoing processes. I don't think we're affirming anything at this moment, so we won't be supporting this motion.
Anyone else have any discussion? MLA Membercat?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Also, for me, we heard today from the department that, and these questions were asked during committee, that there are some legacy programs that they're working with. Some historic. There's some significant historic information that allows the department to make a decision like that. So, for me, I'd be curious to hear kind of more of a definition of what that means. Now, why, in some instances, somebody who may be living in a unit based on a whole number of reasons. So that was an important conversation. That's something that I think that we should give the department the ability to elaborate on. I don't know if a motion is needed or not to do that, but I would encourage the department to come back and actually explain in more detail why certain situations arise. So I'll leave it at that for now, but and also the fact that there was no notice of this motion. This is it's pretty much a moment where from a policy perspective, this motion came out of nowhere. There should be due notice of this motion. The member should know that, being on public accounts as long as he's been, and I think this is coming on the fly. Right now. So I have a huge problem from a procedural perspective when it comes to this. It shows disrespect to you as the chair and the members of this committee for bringing this motion forward. I question why all of a sudden this motion is coming. I feel like the member has another motive when it comes to why this motion all of a sudden is coming before the committee, and I think that the member could show us all a little respect, follow the processes, which he's talked about. He's tried to, talk through the meeting today because he had concerns about procedures, and you had to stop the time for my colleague to speak because he had problems with process, and now here he is disrespecting the committee and the staff by bringing a motion forward that obviously we had no idea it was coming. The team that prepares these meetings had no idea it was coming, and I question his motive. of why he's bringing it now to the table. So I would argue that this is out of order, that the process has not been followed by the committee, and through you, I think we all deserve a little more respect from the member for not following the process to bring the motion forward.
Thank you, Emily Marmokat. Technically, there is no procedure that suggests that a motion has to come forward in advance, but I will say I agree that the motions coming on the floor has been a topic of much discussion at our committees, and in fact, often members from this side of the table will vote against a motion because they haven't seen it in advance. So it is true that it is rather ironic that this is now coming forward. Emily Lachance, did you have your hand up?
I mean, and not to be repetitive, but certainly I have understood from members of this committee, particularly MLA Taggett, sorry. That a real concern about seeing things ahead of time, at least seeing things in writing. I've just been constantly refreshing my email and I don't see it sitting there. I think as we try and work better together, I think this has been one of the things that we've been trying to improve. So I am wondering if that motion has been sent to the clerk. The clerk has indicated they haven't received it. So, and thus can't be circulated. We can't have it in front of our eyes to review the wording. I think, honestly, I think this government is trying to do everything it can to distract itself from the record on housing. I think this government is doing everything it can. Why aren't we talking about how much the wait list has grown? Aren't you curious about how we could stop the public housing wait list from growing? Aren't you curious about what other things we could be doing? I mean, I think we should be very concerned. If we're going to be concerned as a committee, I think we should be concerned about the fact that...
Order, please. The time for the committee has elapsed. Had I had a chance, I would have asked to extend. It does require a unanimous consent to extend the meeting, as you know. So that is it for today. Our next meeting, this is off the record, but our next meeting is January 7th, correct?
Yes.
All right, so happy holidays, everyone. That's it for until 2026.